So with that said, Lauren, let me ask you, if businesses are like, you know what, local publicity, and it's beyond just the PR stuff. I'm talking about not just press releases. I'm talking about actual publicity. People hear about you around town. Is that just something that you just hope happens? Or is it something, if you are smart about it, a business could actually construct partnerships and actually make publicity a part of their ongoing, their plan for growth?
Yeah. So I'm actually really glad that you brought this up because it's something that I feel like I get on a soapbox about
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. You know,
Please, soapbox is yours.
and I'm like, let me just tell y'all something. So working in both editorial and the advertising, working in all of it, something that I wish people could understand about publicity specifically, I'll get into like the around town stuff, but specifically
Mm-hmm.
with media outlets,
Mm-hmm.
we have a million things that are being sent to us daily, plus the things that we have to go out and find.
Mm-hmm.
So if you send us something, it might not make it. And that's nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can do is give advice on how to present it in a way that it will be in there.
Okay.
Don't want to send just a naked press release, like that's kind of boring. We need to know, why is this important? Like it's crazy to say because it seems so obvious, but a lot of times people will just send us something and be like, I'm doing this fundraiser. We're like, okay, I'm happy for you. That's great. But like, tell me more. Tell me why you think that all of our readers need to hear about this. So if people
Yeah.
can say, why is this relevant to the people that I'm sending it to? Why is it relevant to my community?
Mm-hmm.
That really helps. If you can include any kind of visual aid, that really helps. If we have a photo, and that's,
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, they're not going to put information on television if there's no visual to it.
Mm-hmm.
Same for our print publication. There's very few stories that don't have an art component to them.
Right.
So that's a big thing. If you really want media coverage, just really think about why your message is relevant to anyone.
Yeah.
Of course it's relevant to you. It's your thing, but why would a complete stranger off the street care to hear about this and need to hear about this? And if you can get a good answer to that, it'll probably make it in your local news outlet, 100%. And something I want to piggyback off of that, if you're not sure if you have that answer, a guaranteed way to get in a print publication is to buy an ad. So I have to obviously remind people of that. If you just must have your information in our paper, you can buy an ad and it will 100% be in there, however you want.
Right.
But as far as around town, I think, again, it's the relationships, especially somewhere like Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
I have had just more success with our events and just going to things like Buy Local Lunch, going to, the networking happy hours. Even aside from like business specific events, just going out to new places. You can't go to the same restaurant every single weekend and expect to meet new people who are going to be interested in what you might be putting on. You go out and be chatting with people and be friendly to people, and in a conversation just train yourself to say, it was so great to meet you, by the way, I have this cool event coming up, if you want to look it up on Facebook, or if you want to follow me on Instagram, or here I have something in my purse that I can give you. To me, that might be just a really simple dumb answer, but I've had the most success just telling people what I'm doing. Just tell them what's up.
No, I agree. That's a good point, is the personal touch you mentioned. You also mentioned making sure you have the why behind the press release or the content, also kind of doing some of the media work for the media outlet. So not only you can sell them and they can kind of see the larger picture, but then they can make that decision much more quickly and have the resources to kind of position it for their audience. I wanted to ask you a follow-up on the type of stuff that's good publicity. It's going to be different for each kind of publication, right? So the Savannah's Business Journal, what's good for it is not the same as Connect Savannah, is not the same as Savannah Morning News, et cetera, et cetera. But like, give me an example outside of a nonprofit fundraiser, because I think that's what most local businesses would say. Well, unless I'm doing some kind of greater cost thing, no one's going to want to hear about what anything else I might be doing from a business context. What's an example of like a good publicity story that someone submitted and it was a good fit for your audience and it wasn't necessarily some kind of charity fundraiser?
Oh, let me think. I feel like there's like a bunch of different avenues I can do. Here's a specific one. And then I'll kind of get into a more generic one.
Mm-hmm.
There was this guy, and this was one of the very first stories that I wrote. There was this guy going around the entire country getting tattoos because he had cancer, and he was like, screw this. I've always wanted to get a tattoo. I'm about to go get a bunch of tattoos all over my body with people I've never met. Obviously that's a great story,
Hmm.
but I don't know this guy. He's from Ohio and he just
Hmm.
happened to be in Savannah. So he's going to say, hey, you work for this publication, which I met him in person. So that was also nice. I got to see him in
Yep.
person. But
Yep.
after the fact, he sent his information to WSAV and they did a story. And I helped him, say, this is how you need to present it to them for them to pick it up. And
Hmm.
he said, this is what I'm doing. It's unique, it's visual, it's interesting,
Hmm.
just something interesting and unique. So obviously that's like a no-brainer example. But you
Right.
have to tell people about it is what I'm trying to say. You have to tell them, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? If I just saw this guy covered in tattoos, I'd be like, cool. But he
Yeah.
told me why he's doing it and there's a story there. And so you
Hmm.
just have to tell people your why. Another kind of thing we get, there's a lot of live music in Savannah, and we cover almost all of it in our soundboard, which is like our weekly calendar of live music. But we can't do a full feature story on everyone. And so, that's not even a nonprofit thing. That's just somebody, hey, this is my show for profit. I want
Hmm.
people to come out and I would like a full story.
Hmm.
Just reach out and tell me what you're doing that's interesting, unique, different from every other band in town. Maybe you
Hmm.
have a guest performer. Maybe your new album is coming out next
Hmm.
week. Just it's all about the what is going to set you apart and make people care. That sounds kind of
Yeah.
bad. We have so much content coming at us in our daily lives that it's impossible for us to care about all of it. So you've got to tell people why they should care about what you're doing.
Okay, agreed. Like, so my takeaways is like, you got to think about the audience, think about the story. If it's a good story, there's a good chance it gets put in. If not, then we can't put everything in there, and there's always the ad option. So
That's the thing. If it's a great event and you just can't come up with an awesome why, we have a
yeah.
great of advertising.